Hello everyone. In this video we're going to take a look at setting up the animations on our doors so that when our correct blocks are in place, we're going to click on a button and the doors are going to open up. But the first thing we need to do is set up an animation for these doors. So I'm going to select the doors here, and in the previous video we had already labeled them as door right and door left. So to create the animation, we're going to create the animation right here inside of Unity. And it's pretty easy to do. When you go up to the window button, there is this animation area, and what we'll do is we'll turn on animation. And what it'll do is it'll give us this timeline, and it'll say to begin animating door right, create an animator and an animation clip. So anytime you create an animation in Unity, it saves the animation as an animation clip, and the thing that controls it is this animator component. And by kind of following this workflow, you can easily create those components just by selecting it, opening the animation window, and then hitting create. And what it does is it opens up this timeline here. So we're going to create that, and what I'll do is I'll create a new folder within our project and call it animations. And I'll put it inside of that folder, and I'll call this animation door right. So we'll save it inside of that animations folder as door right, and it'll be .anim. Alright, so we have this created. Just a little bit of a rundown about this. Panel, there's a record button to be able to record this. We're going to record keys over several frames. And if there were multiple animations on the store, they would show up in here, or if you wanted to create new clips to work with, you could create them from here. Alright, so we'll start this off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the record button, and we're going to start adding properties here. So I'm going to go to add property, transform position, and I'll hit the plus key. And this is going to create a key at its current state. So what we'll do is we'll move the timeline to like 15, and then take the door and just move it. And you'll see that it creates a keyframe here. And if I scrub through the timeline, the door will open. Okay, and that's all we want it to do. We don't want it to close in this particular instance. It's just going to open. And if I hit the play button, there it is. Now, it's animating back to its previous state, so we can just delete the keyframes at the end of this, and now it's just going to open, and it's just going to loop over and over again. And if you want to adjust the timing of it, you can move out the frames, so it's probably a little bit more forgiving. Alright, so we've got that animation created. And like I said, this is on frame 25. We have to create the animation for the other door. So just uncheck the record button here. And I'm going to close the... I don't need to close the window for now. You just select the other door. And if I want to start animating door left, it's the same process. Hit the create button. And I'm just going to select that animation and rename it door left. And it's basically the same process. You hit the record button, add the property. You can add the property without hitting the record button. That's not a problem either. And what we'll do is we'll go to, rather than go to frame 25 with this, I'll just move this to frame 25. And then move my playhead to the end here. And just move him here. And it'll automatically keyframe it if you have this record button on. If I hit the play button, get a little bit of a preview, or if you want to scrub through the timeline, you can look at it there. So I'll create the other door animation. Alright, so now that these door animations are created, we're going to want to control them. If I select the door animations inside the animation folder that we just created, the little triangles here, there's an option for loop time. We do not want this animation to loop. We want it to play once and end. So I'm going to shut off the loop time for both of these animations, okay, so that they no longer loop. The next thing we're going to want to do is set up an animation controller. So to do this, you can select one of the doors, and if you look here, there's animation controller over here. And if you click on the animation controller, let's see, I'm on door right? It'll open up the animator controller window, which basically will show you the state machine that drives this door. Now we're going to create a parameter that we're going to call when the button is clicked to open the doors. So what we'll do is we'll create a parameter. We're going to use a trigger here. Triggers basically will just trigger the animation to start playing. And we'll call this open. Open right. Alright. And what's going to happen here is because we have the animation on the entry state, it's automatically going to start opening the door, which we don't want to happen. So what we need to create is like an entry state where the door isn't animating. So to do that, right click inside of here and go to create state and then empty. And we'll call this new state here. I'll select it. Up here in the inspector, I'll call this closed. And I'm going to right click closed and set this as the default state, which will make this the new entry state for this door. I'm going to right click and then make a transition from closed to the door right. That'll open the door. And what we want to do here is we want this animation to play on a particular condition. And you can see here, cannot preview transition, state does not have a motion. That's fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to set a condition for this transition. We're going to hit the plus, and the condition is going to be when open right is triggered. So what will happen is the door will remain closed, and then when we call open right in the trigger parameters, it'll open the door. Now we need to do this for the other door as well. So I'll go to door left. There is a way to create animation override controllers that we don't have to like build this entire thing from scratch again, but I think it's good practice here. So I'm going to go to parameters and I'm going to create a new trigger and I'm going to call this open left. And just like before, we're going to create a new animation state in this window. Why can I pan around here? I'm not sure why I can't pan around at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to right click and create an empty state here. And I'll call this state closed. I'll set it as the default state. So make layer default state. And then I'm going to right click from here, make transition to door left, select the door, and then we're going to use open left here as the condition to open the door. And I think that's all we're going to have to do. So if we go back to our scene view here and take a look at the door, I'm going to hit play mode. And let's see, I'm going to move the animator down here. And we're in play mode at the moment, so if I trigger this, it should open the door. And there it is, opens. If I select the other door, I don't know why it's not selecting me. Let me select the other door. You see it's just looping through closed. If I hit this trigger, the door opens. Okay. Now, there was a little bit of a delay on these, and I think it's because has exit time was on. So let's select these, and we'll go to the transition here. You see where it says has exit time? What that means is that it'll wait for the first animation to finish playing before it switches to the other one. So I want to uncheck that, and I want to do that for the other door controller as well. So I'm going to select the transition here and uncheck it here. So now if I hit play, when I hit the trigger, oh, did I already set it to true? Why is that opening right away? So right works fine. But why did left automatically go? Maybe because I already had it selected. Hold on. Let's look at door right again. I mean door left. And let's look at the animator for door left. Yeah, it was already triggered. So you want to make sure it's off first. So if I hit play now, the door should open. And I'm going to hit escape, select the animator, trigger it, and it opens. Alright, so now the door automatically opens and responds. The next thing we're going to need is a game object here. Hold on a second. I want to change this to wireframe real quick because I thought I had a button in here. I do. So if I focus in here, there's the button. And I'm going to move this out in front of the geometry. So I'm going to change this to shaded so we could see the button here. And like I said, I had to go to wireframe because I think it was buried inside of the wall when it got imported. But this is a button, so I'm going to set this to button. And what we're going to do is we're going to raycast to this button when we're able to unlock it. And this is going to trigger the other two animations. Okay, so we're going to use our raycast here. I want to create another material for this too. So I'm going to put red on the button for now. And I'm going to duplicate one of our materials. And I'm going to call this one green. And what we'll do is we'll change this to green when the conditions are met for the two pressure plates. And so we want to change that color to green. And we're not going to apply that to anything yet. We're just going to grab it when we're ready to change the color and to activate the door. One last thing you're probably going to need here, and it's got a mesh collider on it. But we're going to want to tag this as something in particular. So what we'll tag this as is door button. So I'm going to add a tag. I'm going to create a new tag here, call it door button. And then we'll select the button again and make sure we tag it as door button. So that way we can identify it when our raycast collides with it. Alright, so I think that's everything that we need to jump into the code and be able to make these doors open once the puzzle is complete. So let's jump back into let's see, our Raycast script maybe. Yeah, let's go to our Raycast from player script here. And basically what I want you to do is go back to trigger object, select both of these booleans right here that we created originally, and we're going to cut them from here. So Control X. And you can delete these two lines of code out here. We're going to come back and make some changes here in a minute. And you're going to want to paste these at the top of the Raycast script. So we'll paste these in here. And there's a couple of things I want to add to this. I want to add a public float for Ray. We'll call it Raycast dist for distance. So this is going to be the distance of our raycast. We're also going to want to create a couple of public animators, and what those are going to host are the animations for the door. So this is going to be door 1. And then you can copy and paste this one because we're going to need one for door 2. And we're also going to, let's see, we're also going to need a couple of other things here. The game object for the door button. Alright, so we've got the game object for the door button here. Alright, so inside of our update for the Raycast script, the first thing I'm going to do is change the color of the door if the blue block and the red block are true. So how are we going to know if the red block and the blue block are true? Well, in our trigger script, we're going to grab our Raycast script. So what we're going to do is create a public game object. Actually, maybe not game object. Let's do public Raycast from player. So we're going to actually grab the script directly. So Ray cast from player, and we'll call this Raycast Script. Alright, so we've got that public Raycast from player. We've got the Raycast script here. What we're going to do is we're going to flip the booleans now in these functions instead of flipping them within the trigger function. So we'll call Raycast from player, or Raycast script, is it? Yeah, Raycast script. Raycast script dot red block, which I guess I didn't have it selected. So dot red block. This is going to be equal to true. And then this is going to be Raycast script dot blue block. And we'll set this equal to true. And then here in the exit, we'll add that. And set that equal to false. Alright, so we'll save that. And now that we have that, when we go back to our Raycast from player script, we can create a condition to change the color of our switch when the conditions are met. So we'll say if red block and blue block, we will then select our switch here, and our switch is door button, right? So door button dot, and we're going to go get component renderer renderer.material.color, and we'll set it equal to color.green. And then we'll select this. And then here we'll set it to red. So that's going to change between the two colors. And then that, last but not least, what we're going to want to do is when the conditions are true, we're going to want to click on the button and be able to open the door. So inside of our Raycast here, we can change 10 to Raycast dist. And right after the debug log here, we'll say if hit dot collider dot tag is equal to door button, which I don't think we've created yet. Oh yeah, we did. Door button and red block and blue block, we're going to trigger those animations to play. We're going to say door 1 dot set trigger dot set target trigger, and the trigger is a string, and the trigger, if we go back to Unity, we've got open left and open right. So let's jump back into the code. Open left. Actually, yes, it'll be the left door. And then we'll make one for door 2. And this is going to be open right. Looks like I put in the wrong colon there. Alright, so that'll open the door when those 2 blocks have been interacted with. Okay, so I'm going to save all of this. Make sure it's all saved. And why isn't it saving? There we go. And let's head back to Unity here. And there's a few things we're probably going to have to set here. If we jump into the main camera, we need to have our doors applied here. So door left is going to go here, and then door right, where's door right, is going to go here. The button for the door is going to go here, and I think we're all set up now. So let's hit play. Oh no, there's one more thing we need to do on the poly plate, on the pressure plates. I believe we need to grab the Raycast script on these guys too. So I'm going to zoom around here, and yeah, see how there's no Raycast from player script? We need access to that script, so we'll drag it here, and then I'll go to the other one, and I'll drag the main camera here because that's hosting that Raycast from player script. Alright, now let's hit play. I'll walk up here, pick this up. I'll drop that there. Drop that there. Oh, maybe it's not completely on it. And we should see that the button on the wall is now green. And if I press E on that button, red box into the trigger. Alright, doesn't seem to be interacting with it. So I'm just going to pause this for a second and let's take a look here. Did I not label the it's door button, and in our script we're pressing E. Oh, silly me. I made this Raycast distance, right? So what ended up happening was if we go to the main camera, we need to give this a distance. So let's give this a distance of 5 and then unpause it. And let's see if that fixes it. There it is. And now the door's open and we can jump out to infinity. So there it is. We've produced interactivity. The reason why that wasn't working right away is because, like I said, that Raycast distance, we didn't have a value applied to that. I wanted to set up the script so that we could give it whatever amount of distance that we wanted it to have. The last thing we're going to do here is add a label so that it basically prompts the player that the door is unlocked when they've solved the puzzle. So we'll do that in the next video.